And nobody's on to test if people can hear, so, you know, we'll see how it goes.
Okay.
Well, we'll speak
Oh,
of it.
it's working,
It is,
yeah.
yeah. I just, hopefully it's not mine. It says that one, okay. Okay, so we are gonna call the facilities meeting to order at 6:03. Okay, so. Okay, and then we'll start with the school first. Somebody wanna read it? We wanna read it together? Okay. This is our school, may peace dwell here. May the rooms be full of contentment. May love abide here. Love one another, love our school, and love life itself. Let us remember that as many hands fill the house, so many hearts fill the school. Okay, and then let's do roll call. Just James. here.
Yeah, James Fisher here.
Nicole Finelli here.
And you're visiting us. Trisha out there to it here. Jennifer Bryan here. Kathy Maddox here.
Buckner's here.
So what, so Susan and I met before this, just so I had a clear understanding about facilities moving forward. So in order to, when we go to do votes on things or recommend to the board, we need to have we need to have 4 out of the 5 bodies represented. So admin, parent, board member, teacher, staff.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
so 4 out of those 5. I cannot be a parent because I'm with the board, so I cannot fill 2 seats. So we
Okay.
need, so you guys are parents, so we just have to make sure if we're having a meeting for voting, that one of you 2 are here. Okay. Okay, any public comment? I'll put on the record, like, if you wanna cut straight to our board chair. Okay,
Let's see what these guys have to say.
yes. Okay, any agenda modifications? Okay. Seeing none. I need to approve the consent agenda. Did anybody look at the minutes? I think they were pretty short. I think they're not attached.
I didn't get. Anything sent.
That one was actually not
Minute.
short. Okay, so then I'll move this to the next meeting then. Because I don't think they were attached. I typed them up, so I've seen them.
Okay.
But I don't remember them being attached. When the email went out, right? Yeah. And then I'll put you in as here now. Yes, okay. I know, I love that you're here. I'll take 3 minutes all day long. Your name ready. Okay. So no consent agenda. Okay. So we also need to do approved meeting dates for 24-25. So we can set like a set meeting. We've kind of been all over the board this summer because we're just doing as we need to. And I think that may happen still after we find the architect, that it may be too long to wait a month to make decisions unless we want to wait 5 years to have schools. So, so we can set a set meeting date, so we have it in the calendar. And I would ask for everybody's flexibility if we need to make decisions to try to meet in between for a special meeting. So this was typically the second. When were you guys doing it? You were not on the,
Thursdays.
you were not
We
on
were
the
doing the
Tuesday
first
flow.
Thursdays was our flow.
Okay,
Was our rhythm.
That works for me. Not
the early
It's
day.
out there.
Yeah.
And so.
This was Tuesday's part, is that, it didn't work?
Tuesdays, Wednesdays are good.
I can't do Tuesdays.
Okay, so maybe that's why we didn't.
I mean, I can do Thursday. I can do it Thursday.
I would prefer if we do even like a 5 to 7.
So Thursdays.
Versus the
can
6
figure
start
out
time,
what
you know?
I-
I'm not work till 5:30.
5:30.
I think 16.
Thursdays are the only days I'm not carpooling sports, so it's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah,
I'm wide open.
on Thursday. The next
shoot.
couple of Thursdays, I have sports till 6:30.
You know, I'm actually gonna be in the Search and Rescue Academy every Thursday for like the next month and a half.
Okay.
But
Okay, what time are you done carpooling?
Like, what about Wednesdays?
Yeah. What was Wednesdays one of the other days that were better for you? I don't remember when we were talking about meeting.
I can work out carpool share, and make a 6:30.
Okay, is there a different day that's better?
It's sports every day till 6.
Okay,
Maybe like a 6:30 on Wednesday.
yeah. I don't know. Okay, so Wednesdays. I don't have anything regular. So, okay, so Wednesdays at 6:30.
Yeah, we start there, we just kind of concentrate, get through it.
You
Yeah.
can be our, keep us on track.
Yeah.
Okay,
Sergeant at Arms.
Be dark and cold
yeah,
pretty soon.
it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so 6:30s. On Wednesdays.
which Wednesday? Like
Oh, yeah, which Wednesday, that's true.
Oh.
No,
Can I ask, is there a meeting this Thursday? Because I got something.
no, we don't have anything this Thursday. Okay, good, yeah.
No, but I think it's the last Thursday night market, just that.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
thank
first week is parent council, the second week is. When's finance? The second week.
Second week and third is charter.
And third is church, so the fourth is where facilities would fall if we were trying to keep one. Is a week. Does that work? One of,
If we are doing one a month.
one
it'd be
for each, like
Tuesday.
every week, there's a, yes,
Yeah,
one of them.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. High
So-
potential, I'll be out of town, work the last week of every month.
okay, so if we don't do it the third, I would just prefer not the
Sounds
third,
good.
because I already have a meeting on Tuesdays. So I would say if we do it the first. We can do it the first or the second week.
So as far as which committees will naturally follow us? Like, does finance follow us?
In
or does it
decision
charter
order.
council?
Charter council's the third, so it follows finance.
Do you mean
Well,
in
we
the
like
decision
planning
order
the
for
same.
this?
I feel like we should meet before charter.
And then do we meet before finance, or do we wait for finance and then meet before charter? Because then we don't wanna wait and we don't.
A whole month if we need a decision on something. I think, yeah. I think right now, finance isn't gonna have a whole lot until we see what happens with the ballot. But that's gonna be, so, but we could do the first Wednesday, cause then you'll have both of them. After
Yeah.
that,
That's a good.
yeah.
So Wednesday.
I don't know that
second.
finance would have anything for us to review. I think we would be giving stuff to finance. I
Yeah,
would think, right?
and then it's our progress. I don't know how this works. I know.
I mean, not that I could think of, but. you know,
So,
Yeah, I would think we would be giving things to finance to review, so
Yeah.
we would need to meet first. And then finance could review it and then it could. The
Yeah,
board,
the first
Right,
the
sounds
first.
really good.
yeah,
so the first Wednesday,
first Wednesday, there we go. And then we'll have special meetings.
Yeah, you'll have to be flexible.
Yeah.
We'll have to be flexible.
Yeah, okay, I'm gonna get through this because, okay, we closed escrow, okay, moving to 5.2, we closed escrow, everybody. We own
Yay.
property officially.
Congratulations.
We don't have a parcel number, I'm working on getting that, because it was split.
We have an address.
No, not that I know yet, but I'm trying to find that.
that's pretty big, that's huge.
It is big, so we did talk about doing, and maybe we can talk about this after, because it's already 6:12 and the first person.
Yeah.
But they're not in the waiting room yet, so, talked about doing invite everybody to the land and doing a blessing in the land, but I haven't heard back that we have somebody to do that for us yet, so. School design presentation recap. I sent everybody the video. It sounds like everybody watched.
Yeah, it's
Yes,
great.
It was great.
Thank you.
Yes, good job. My suggestion is, with your permission, to be able to put it in the acorn.
I put a request and I'm assuming Susan just hasn't looked into it yet. She doesn't publish things, she doesn't review.
Yeah,
And once she feels it's in alignment, then
you were okay with that.
yeah,
Okay.
I already let Kelly know.
Perfect.
To put it in
Okay,
there.
I love that. I thought I think it'd be really awesome to, we'll take it off of my YouTube channel. It's on just because I wanted to get it out to people, but, and Maggie said she could get it posted on the Blue Oak YouTube channels.
What was that video of last
Facebook,
month?
It was just
Presentation?
last week, she did the Waldorf design,
Oh, okay.
and I emailed
Yeah.
it to you, so.
Oh, okay, so let's do that.
That's okay, I sent it today.
Oh, okay.
yesterday.
I was
Um,
like, I was busy with the
Yeah,
pieces.
so I would encourage you to listen to it, it's really
Okay,
good.
yeah, we
Yeah.
have to. Very well done.
7 minutes.
Yeah.
Taking out technical difficulties.
It's totally doable.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I will enjoy it.
It was really inspiring. Okay, so then I don't have anybody in the waiting room yet, so I kind of recapped a little bit before we started. No, there he is. Before we started the meeting, so we have 3 architects that are presenting. I did, Dustin is the first one. He's from Southern California. He focuses on residential real estate, what are we doing, design, but he focuses on indoor outdoor living. So that's, hi, Dustin.
Hi, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. You're gonna have to excuse the background. We're actually in Kauai right now, so also one of the littles might wake up at some point.
That's okay. We appreciate seeing us on your vacation. So I was just telling them a little bit about you. I don't know if you heard me, so.
Not yet. I was trying to figure out make sure the sound was working and everything was up and going.
Okay, and you can hear us okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
So I told you a little bit, but this is our facilities committee, right? So we're kind of in charge of, going through this process, and then we'll make a recommendation to our board.
Okay.
From there. So we have parents, teachers, board members, staff, and admin all here to kind of hear a little bit about you and what you do. And I know you and I have spoke, but I'll gladly hear it all again. So we will let you take it away.
Okay, cool. Well, hi, good to meet everyone. Yeah, I think we're a firm primarily focused on residential, so I'd say we haven't done any schools, but kind of in the discussions and then in kind of running through it and obviously spending some time looking into it. And Jennifer's presentation did a beautiful job of kind of highlighting what we obviously now have children. We've got a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old, and we've been in America. You can hear my accent is originally from South Africa. But we've been in America now 11 years. And one of our biggest concerns is this the right place to be living? And the only thing that would be swaying us would be the education for our kids. And the reason I say that is we're based down in Orange County. And from a architectural perspective, whenever we drive around, we look at the schools and it has a typology of a prison. And I'm not being over dramatic, like we have literally misinterpreted some schools for prisons, and there's no natural light, there's no connection to the outdoors, and yet while they represent a prison, there is still no security. So it's kind of this big contradiction in itself. So it's always been a topic of discussion whenever we're driving, kind of traveling in and around America. We grew up obviously in South Africa, and we were educated in South Africa. And then on Jennifer's presentation, it mentioned in Chico the relationship to Victorian architecture. And we were schooled in a very typical Victorian school, a lot of courtyards, although they were old. I mean, they're pretty historic. I mean, like they were over 100 years old, but there was still a incredible connection to nature, high ceilings, high windows, courtyards. So there was an abundance of natural light and natural ventilation. So I think what's been so interesting, and then just discussing with Trisha and the idea of what school is and the importance of that connection and the way, it's so important. We value being outdoors. So with our kids, 1 and 3, but basically all we want to do is be outdoors, right? That's where they're learning, that's where they're playing, that's where they're being active. That's what informed our growing up. That's what informs our architecture right now. So within our residential, all of our homes are passively designed. They're completely concerned with where the sun is rising, where the sun is setting, what are the natural wind flows, what are the weather patterns, how do you create an environment for what we do right now in living that is completely connected to nature. And again, kind of Jennifer's presentation, I think, did a beautiful run through of what is important within the Steiner and the Waldorf system, is how does nature and how does your cognition inform the education for the kids. And that's not just simply what's presented, it is the architecture, it's the textures they're touching, it's the the environment that's being created for them. And it's so important because we see it in our kids, especially our little 1-year-old, and you can, when they're in different environments, when we try and travel a lot. And it's, to me, one of the biggest concerns with where we're going to be choosing to live. And we don't have the opportunity where we are right now. We're obviously like the kids, our 3-year-olds just started going to kind of a 2-day-a-week little school, and that was kind of important for us, and it's kind of a mix, like the classrooms, the indoor outdoor, and it's very much a little nature school, and that's kind of how we grew up, like it was playground, trees. It's not that many trees down where we are, but we found one that has some trees, and the outdoor living, and the outdoor play, and like how important play is. So yeah, in discussing it with Trisha, it's been one of our major concerns, and I think it would be really interesting discussing and thinking about and planning nature into schools. Obviously you deal with, and I haven't been to Chico, but just looking into a little bit of your guys' environment and where you are, you're obviously dealing with some it looks like it gets pretty hot. But like the idea, and again, like just the idea that you can be learning under a canopy, the shade can kind of come down and create a environment for learning, is just kind of stuff that we've been kind of thinking about and throwing around as like, if we were to engage in this. I'd say us as a studio, we've got a pretty small studio, so if we were to end up like going down this road with you, we would probably partner with a firm that is locally based to where you guys are and could handle a lot of the code that would come up. I wouldn't say it's not something, the code side of it is not something that would really excite me, but it would be something that we would partner with another firm to kind of bring behind us, and then we would focus primarily on the design and the creativity behind what it would be to kind of have a typology of school that informed learning. I'm sure you guys are interviewing with some pretty cool firms, because obviously you brought up some really good examples of some local schools, Waldorf schools that have been done in Sacramento, and just looking into that, I'd say like, yeah, the European schools, I think, like excite me more. I think there's a lot more kind of creativity, and again, like what we've found in our firm and our practices, the code can be very limiting. So I think it was more, and I think in early discussions there's going to be some form of public element to this, right? Is there going to be it's going to be the first kind of public school. Am I correct in that? So there's going to be a public school element to it? Is there going to be some form of public?
Well, it's a public charter school, so it is public funded, yeah.
So then I'd kind of phoned 1 or 2 firms just to kind of start the discussion, and they had said that like there is an element of code that isn't limiting, but there is a lot of hoops to jump through. So I think again, like it's going to take something, it would be time to, and when I talk about us as a firm, we've become a firm on a residential side that people contact us on when there is a lot of jurisdiction, when there are tricky sites, when there are tricky, just kind of boards that you kind of have to be navigated, right? I don't think rules and code are there and they can be seen as black and white, but they're also how you interpret them and then how you navigate through them. And I think that would be a big challenge is in just speaking to some of the firms, just the public school code and regulations would take a very careful understanding to be able to bring to light what is important to the Waldorf school education system. So to not just blanket follow it black and white, but more kind of interpret it in a different way, to be able to maximize the potential for the indoor-outdoor life. Because even just within what we do, whenever there's definitely kind of a black and white rule, but again, how you navigate through that ultimately results in something that's fun and different. And it sounds like it's something that you guys are trying to do, is something that's going to be not your typical.
Yeah, we're really looking for, because obviously this is our first school we built, somebody that can really walk us through, right? That design element and making sure we're making the right decisions for the years to come, for all the future children to come through. So
Yeah.
we're looking for that partner to kind of walk us through that process. So is there any, just as we're getting closer to like the next time, any questions anybody has for Dustin? So he has time to, before you talked a little bit about the local, which you and I talked about, partnering with somebody local that
Yep.
knows in our local area. So you touched on that. So I think that's perfect. The other question, did anybody else have any questions before I make it? James?
No, yeah.
He
Yeah.
said that he had liked the European styles of schools more. How does that differentiate from what we have currently?
So how does the European school design differ from, like, would you say, like US schools?
I think there's again just if you had to say kind of what architecture we would typically do, we tend to lean more towards a contemporary in the sense that it's still timeless. So I'm not saying like something that doesn't have a long longevity to it, but isn't necessarily tied to a particular style. I'd be more excited about an architecture that was grown out of, and I think like your site that has the kind of stream running through it, like it's a site specific architecture that would be a direct response to both the Waldorf school education values as well as the site. The idea is that it wouldn't be able to be replicated anywhere. It would be completely orientated around where your sun rises, where it sets, how it is informed by the temperature, the change in seasons. It isn't the schools we often see, and it's not specific to just America. A lot of kind of public oriented schools and public schools, you can almost on an aerial view see where they've taken that same floor plan and kind of stamped it throughout the kind of topography. You know, it's a standard recipe that kind of gets replicated and the European idea of there's a little bit more, even just in looking up Waldorf schools, the Waldorf schools that excited me more tended to be more European based. They tended to, again, have a little bit more freedom and creativity. It felt like they had a lot more color, they had a lot more natural materials. And again, like anything, budget comes into play. A lot of those big glue lamp beams that kind of tend to bend over and bring that natural wood warmth element. There's definitely a cost perspective when it comes to construction in California right now. It's expensive to build. It's expensive to do. So whether they're getting more funding, it just felt like there's a little bit more freedom in expression. And funny enough, actually, when I was 7, lived in Stuttgart with my family and went to a school that I think would have been Waldorf based. Just because kind of in doing a bit of research, it's all very much what we did. when I was there, I went to a public school in Germany, in Stuttgart. And I don't know, so it was just more that, like kind of the schools. There's one that I kind of saw as the Waldorf in Nashville. And that was just, I think it's a newer one, what I was reading, and it just kind of was some outdoor education, basically, you know, kind of some shaded structures in an outdoor classroom. And it's kind of, it would be a blend of that, and maybe what I was seeing more in the European ones. And I know the Sacramento one has that kind of like big building, but it did feel a little closed off to me. So I'd say, like, you know, like I would envision something that was a little bit more open, a little bit more natural light, but more glass. Again, it's all going to have its challenges, but again, like that's kind of where I was going at with that kind of comment. I love the idea of indoor-outdoor living, and then I think indoor-outdoor education and how you blur that threshold is the challenge.
Perfect. And have you done, I don't remember, Dustin, have we talked about like the prefab modular setup, and we've looked at that a little bit just from a cost and a budget perspective? Have you done anything with that?
We've done some on a corporate level. We've done some for Stan's headquarters and worked on some like more on an indoor level. And I know you had mentioned kind of the idea of containers. We haven't specifically built buildings like that. We've got a couple of clients that we're looking into it, and we're more in the conceptual stage within Joshua Tree. Again, it has its challenges, and what we've found right now is by the time you bring a container onto site and you thermally insulate it and you get it to a level of habitability with running an aircon and that, like the cost benefit isn't massive. So we've actually been looking into the airplane hangar sheds. Has been some pre-modulated structures that we're looking into more. They're bigger. They can get some bigger spans than the limiting of the container, just because obviously you're limited to that 20 or 40 foot length, and it's fairly narrow. So we've been looking into that. We haven't done, I wouldn't say we've like put anything together that's built that you could see, but those are just kind of some of the challenges that we have come up with in dealing with them already. There is still and especially in an extreme temperature where it gets really hot, turning those into habitable spaces is kind of the main challenge.
Okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. Okay, any questions for Dustin? We appreciate you stepping away from your vacation to come and talk to us.
Oh, no worries at all. It was perfectly timed. I still asleep. It seemed to be still.
Good. Glad we got it all done before they woke up. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you so much,
Thank you
Dustin.
so much.
Okay,
Cool. Thanks, guys. We'll chat
bye.
later. Bye.
Okay. I don't know if I kicked,
What's his time slot?
6:35.
Okay, so we've got 5 minutes.
Yeah. I don't know if they kicked him off before. It's not asking me to admit them, and they're just coming in.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I have huge reservations about, I mean, I like him a lot personally,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
his mentality, but I
he
would
doesn't
have,
the experience.
no, God, no, I would not hire a residential builder who's never done a school to do an architect,
Yeah.
like a Waldorf school architecture, especially. I mean, it's good that he's even thinking about the fact that there's gonna be extra code hoops to jump through for a public school, but like, they're not even gonna be ready to be jumped through the hoops for a not public school, like. It's a completely different nightmare from residential construction.
Other thoughts before we can do our discussion at the
It just reminds me of like who we were as a school 10 years ago, because we would have been all about that.
Yeah.
And then
And I
it
really
would just been a disaster. Like
yeah.
beautiful soul, great
Yeah.
intention,
Yeah.
but what we
Right.
really need is the lighthouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not following
Yeah.
someone else's inexperience.
Yeah.
So it's just, I feel like we've learned a lot, you guys.
Yeah.
I didn't want to be negative.
Yeah.
Thanks for being the first person to say we have a concern, but
Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's passionate
Yeah.
because he's a young
Yeah.
parent and he
Yeah.
wants to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
But we will not have a school if it's
Right.
done right.
I love the ideas, but
Yes.
I fear the execution.
Right.
I feel the
Um,
same way. Yeah.
Are
We want somebody that's already done it.
Yeah.
Are we
Big, yeah.
expecting like actual like presentations tonight, or are we just having chats?
Well,
I know he's on vacation, but I was just
Yeah.
curious.
I left it up to them. I
Okay.
told them that they could present something
Okay.
and they could share it if they wanted to. I also originally told them 10 minutes
Mhm.
until today.
Okay,
So, I don't know. But I think Dustin it's just like him and somebody else in his firm, they're pretty small. I think that's just the way
Okay.
and he's on vacation. And
Yeah.
so, and I knew that, so I'm skipping him for the grace.
We'll have to follow up for all three of these if we're interested, is to ask them to prepare a presentation.
yeah,
Yeah, so, and I guess, so the next person is, Mike, and he is with.
FD.
From my team, yeah, and.
HMC.
HMC, which did the Honeybee Discovery Center. So they did the Honeybee Discovery Center. They're pretty well versed, they've done quite a bit of stuff, they are 100% employee owned company, they're based out of Sacramento. He is the only person that asked me if I had a financial consultant, I think, no, funding consultant.
Mhm.
And I was like, no, what is that? Tell me more about that. Yes, that sounds amazing. So there's people and they have somebody within their firm that helps find funding for schools and these kind of entities.
Cool.
Yeah, so also, they've all been super nice
Okay.
and great, besides people that didn't respond to me, but they were nice at the beginning. They have those, yes, so,
And they did the honeybee discovery.
and they did that, maybe
I guess
discovery,
you
Laurel,
got them from Laurel.
Laurel, yes, I got them from Laurel. Yeah. Okay, so we ready?
yeah.
Okay. So the questions, I did talk to Mike a little bit today about financing. I didn't ask Dustin that because I was feeling like.
Yeah.
There was no need to do that,
Mhm.
but. I did ask them to talk a little bit about, like, how they get paid,
Yeah.
so.
Hello, Mike.
Hi, Mike, can you hear us? Hi,
I think he hasn't got you.
we
We
cannot hear
can't
you
hear
yet.
you.
Technology is so lovely,
Very good.
not yet.
You have mute all on?
Well, if I wanted to mute everybody, but I
You
don't.
can't, but you aren't, okay.
No,
Yeah, I don't see a
Dang it.
microphone next to Mike's name either.
no, that's true. We don't see a microphone. Did you join audio? Like next to your name, there's not a little microphone on my end.
Right.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, now it's connecting.
Oh,
there
did
we
not
go.
connect.
Oh, it failed.
Right.
Click the drop down next to his name.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
I'm already feeling like we're about to go to the next level this time. At North Dakota State University.
I don't know.
Yeah, so I was thinking NDSU.
Yeah. It's always fun, like when you talk to people on the phone, right, and you see them in person, you're always trying to like, in
Yeah.
my mind, I always try to picture.
Mm,
Okay, okay,
hey, audio,
it says.
except you're muted.
You're
You
muted.
gotta unmute.
Unmute.
Yes.
Ask to unmute, there you go.
There we go.
Hey.
See, we can troubleshoot anything. Well, welcome. So, hi, Mike, I'm Trisha. We've spoken a few
Trisha.
times. Yes, I
Yeah.
appreciate taking my calls. And thank you for coming tonight. So tonight, this is the facilities committee, for the school. And I won't introduce everybody just for the sake of time, but I'll tell you kind of who we have. So we have parents, we have board members, we have teachers, and then we have staff and admin here. With us to hear a little bit about what you're gonna tell us, so. I did not fill them in a whole lot except for the Honeybee Discovery Center. We talked about you previously in one of our previous meetings, your firm, and I did not share with them what we talked about today yet, we didn't have enough time in between for me to share our conversation we had earlier, so.
Okay. Well, I'll tell you, a little bit about myself, HMC, kind of, I have a couple projects that maybe I'll show you, and we can go from there. So yeah, my name's Mike Rath. I'm a principal architect at HMC Architects. I've been with HMC for 18 years. I was with them for 11 years. I left for a couple years and then came back and have been back 8 or 9 years. So my whole career has been in designing learning environments. So I've been an architect for 34 years, 35, going on 35 years. And all of that's been designing for students in different learning styles and things like that. So on a personal level, I have 4 kids. My wife and I have homeschooled. We've done charter school. We've done private school, public school. You know, just depending on what their needs were. My wife is a teacher. And so currently she's at a public school, but she's been at private school and charter schools. The chalkboard behind me, my second oldest son has dyslexia, pretty severe. And so he did a lot of learning on the chalkboard. And it's just that tactile kind of learning. So it was very good for him. And my wife's really into fiber arts and things like that. So she brought a lot of that into learning. HMC has been around since 1940. And we have 6 offices. San Diego, Ontario, California is our main office. And then we have one in Los Angeles, San Francisco, San Jose, and then I'm out of the Sacramento office. Altogether, we're about 350 people, but our Sacramento office is 50, between 50 and 60. HMC focuses on 4 market sectors. Civic is probably our smallest. Healthcare is pretty big, higher education, and then K-12. And that's what I do. And most of our Sacramento office is K-12, with a few that are doing healthcare and then some higher ed, which both really have helped, you know, in designing schools. You know, it's good to have the kind of higher ed people and see where kids are going, you know, and to prepare spaces, you know, that they can learn how to, you know, go beyond. And then even just our healthcare designers and kind of learning how healing happens and, you know, how can we incorporate that into our designs. I've worked on, looking at my list here, but I have about 5 different charter and then 1 private school. So I did a couple of California Montessori projects. And then Fortune School of Education is a charter school that's in Sacramento and San Bernardino that I did 8 schools for them. Growth Public Schools, New Hope Charter School, and then Morong Private School, which is a school in Roseville. The founder of the school is from China. And her daughter came over here and she has started a daycare and then or preschool. And eventually she wants to do a K-12 where they actually have dormitories, but we did a K-6 for them. And similar to Waldorf, a lot of art, a lot of music at her school. They do teach Mandarin. So I saw, you know, as I was watching the presentation, saw a lot of similarities between that project and some of the things that you're looking at. I don't know if you have any questions, but I have a couple pictures that I can show you, a couple of the projects that the HMC has done. If you'd like, unless you have some questions you want to ask right now.
That'd be great if you have some photos and then we have some questions, I'm sure. So.
Okay.
I think you should be able to share, I hope. So, oh yeah. Okay.
Yep. You see my screen?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, this is the Honeybee Discovery Center. So I have four projects. One of them isn't a school, but it really is a learning environment. And this project hasn't been built yet. It was originally designed for Orland, but it's now going to be moved over to Chico on the Chico State Farm. And really, as we design this project, part of it, you know, has to do with agriculture, but a lot of it is, you know, what can we learn from bees and what bees do, how they make honey, how they work hard, how they're industrious. And so that was kind of the design concepts behind the Honeybee Discovery Center. We have, as you enter, there's a pollinator garden on top, and that'll attract. And so there's a difference between attracting bees and attracting butterflies. We wanted to get the bees up high because there are a lot of people that are allergic to bees. So we have this pollinator garden, and then actually, and you'll see in my next picture, the bees can enter the building into a hive, a demonstration hive. We also have solar panels up top, and then some clear story windows, and you know, all the projects that we work on, a lot of the projects that we design that are brand new, we try to incorporate ways that people that are using the spaces, you know, especially kids, can learn from their environment. So that's and I wish I had more time to show you this whole project. I have one more picture of it, but even you can see over to the left, and I have an interior rendering of that, but it simulates a beehive, and so maybe next time we can share that with you.
Yeah. We've heard great things about the project, yeah.
So this is the entry, and again, like I was saying, you know, you put in, you know, some of these are just kind of big ideas. I don't know that they'll necessarily happen this way, but you know, using the color of the honey, and you know, you have glass and the light comes through, and just kind of that color that it creates. You know, bringing bees in from the outside, like you have this active hive, and I'm sure you've been to Orland and to the Hive there, that restaurant where they have an active hive. And so just again, we're students, we're adults, you know, can interact with the architecture, with the things that are happening. And even though this isn't a school, there's going to be a lot of kids, school groups that come here. And it's kind of the philosophy that we have for all the projects that we work on. The next one I was going to show you is it's a brand new elementary school that we're doing in Roseville, ground up. It's they're still building houses out there, and they have a really the budget was really tight on here. But again, when I was thinking of you know, and listening about Waldorf and kind of the philosophy and the indoor outdoor learning environments, this is just an image of the entryway, but we did go with the two-story. Let me go back here. I'm going to go back here. And this is the admin up front here, multi-purpose, and the library, kind of bringing all these functions together, creating kind of this courtyard that students and teachers could use, and just seeing that these kind of three functions come together. It's also cost effective if we can bring buildings together. So one of the things about bringing the buildings together here is that we have this, you know, covered walkways. So we have one place that the fire, you can drink water. That the fire sprinkler comes into one building and then can go all the way around to all the buildings, and not have to have sprinkler riser rooms in all the buildings. Also, the utilities can run. So, you know, bringing these spaces together make it a lot more cost effective. This is kindergarten over here, and having their own space, their own playground, and their own drop off. And then the older kids have a two-story building. And this site, you know, similar to the site that you have, is pretty small. And they wanted to, you know, maximize, have a field, a track, and things. So a two-story building seemed to be like the most cost effective and work on the site. But what it also allowed us to do is we like to have a lot of these outdoor learning spaces, and it's adjacent to the classroom. So, you know, if a teacher, you know, wanted to have a couple students out here, and you know, she was still inside, she could still watch what they're doing out here. She could bring her whole class out. You know, we live in California. I mean, there's just a lot of days that we can be outside. And then what we did on the second floor is we made because we had to have circulation around there, we made it a little bit wider, and it allows students to be able to bump out into this space as well. And again, they're outside. You can put plants out here. You could do different things on the outside. But again, it gives you, even though you have a second floor, you have an indoor outdoor space. And all of these projects, I'd love to show you a lot more of them, but I knew I didn't have a lot of time, so I wanted to go through them, relatively quickly. This is at Berkeley High School, and it's probably, a little bit different than what you're thinking, but what I like about it is robotics. So they have a robotics program at Berkeley, and Berkeley's a beautiful campus, old historic buildings from the 30s, Art Deco, and so we have this brand new robotics. Again, it's a 2-story building that they want to be very, very green, very sustainable. And part of that is that even though it's, it's kind of this tech building, we are going to use wood as a primary structural system for it. It's sustainable, and it's just, I just love the feel of the wood. This is that, so all of this space is outside, and actually up here, this space here is unconditioned. The classrooms are around the outside of the building. And so on new buildings, you do have, the code requires you to have solar panels. And so what we did, we wanted to get light into this outdoor space down here below, and so we've got these solar panels that actually allows light to go through. So it's kind of a 2-for-1. We don't have to build a roof. We get natural daylight into this space below, and I think I have a picture. This is the space below, and here's their robotics field. So it kind of extends the space. The construction costs to do kind of this unconditioned outdoor space is less, but it's still covered. They can use it as a classroom. It's not conditioned, but allows them to get that natural daylight and to be able to have indoor outdoor space. This is on the 2nd floor, and again, this is that skylight that allows light into this outdoor space, and then as you go down, that's where that robotics field was. And then just creating, and again, this is high school, but even at the elementary, we like to create, just spaces where kids can learn, one-on-one, with small groups, and just different ways. And then the last one I wanted to show you was Davis TK, transitional kindergarten. So it's for the state mandate about providing kindergarten for younger kids throughout California. And so a lot of the school districts are looking for cost-effective ways to add kindergarten classrooms to their campuses. So Davis Unified School District, we're working with them, and we designed this one building, and it's going to go on 5 different sites. And the big thing is they didn't want it to have a front or a back. They didn't want it to have a back, and it could be on either side. And we have a couple different options as to where windows and doors are, but it's the same building, and then there's different color options. So a few things just about kind of our design concepts for this building, and just kind of how we go about design. One of the things that we do is we do model all of our buildings to see how the daylighting is going to work. And again, this helps for students learning. If we can optimize the natural daylight, but if you bring daylight in from, the south side, I mean, it's just it could be too bright. There could be a lot of glare. And so we model the buildings. We look at which direction, is best for it, for orientation. And then we can also bring in these, if it's facing east or west or south, and we need to deal with the sun, we can bring in some overhangs, but we know ahead of time if it's going to work or not. And if we don't need them, there's just cost savings there. So you can kind of see how we approach that. And then these were some of the design concepts for this particular project. Here's a floor plan that just shows different layouts. So we had 2 kindergarten rooms. There's a workroom that's shared by the 2. They wanted They wanted a staff toilet over here, you know, so the teacher doesn't have to run way over to another building. So there's a staff toilet, there's 2 student toilets. We're putting Dutch doors on there so that they can leave the top leaf open and monitor if the student's in there, and then electrical. We have, I forgot to mention it when I was talking about HMC, but we do have interior designers that help with layout of spaces, help select furniture. We also have a funding group, funding consultant that helps with school districts, with chartered private schools in looking for ways to fund their schools or to get funding. You know, we realize working with charter schools, you know, in the past, there's been programs where you can get state money. You know, a lot of times though, you have to take it through the Division of State Architect. Sometimes you'll have to bid it. You have to do what's it called? Escapes me right now, but we've done it both ways. You know, with charter schools, some of them we've taken through the state architect, and you know, we publicly bid it. Other ones we've done, you know, with private money that they've gotten, and we haven't had to bid it, so that you know, pros and cons to that as well. So the thing about the cost effectiveness of this project, and we've actually done this on a lot of projects, not just this. I mean, this one, it works well because we repeat it on different campuses, but we had a brand new high school out in Lincoln, California, where we worked with a contractor and we designed module systems. And so it's not a modular building, it's not a portable building, but it's something that we actually design. But we work with a contractor and we have it so that we have module sizes. So actually this shows all the wood, and they actually they cut all the wood in a warehouse. They had a computer saw that cut all the wood, bundled it together, numbered it, and then it came out to Harper Junior High. So this is a separate site. They had some space, and the contractor built all the walls here, and then they took them over to, or started, it's under construction right now, but then they took it over to the elementary school. This one's Korematsu, and started building it. All the walls for this building were up within 2 days. So from the first day, you know, there was a slab, and then 2 days later, the whole building, the outside walls were all up. So it's a pretty cost-effective way of doing things. It gives you good construction, good solid construction, and it's just a way to build with in a budget. That was 4 schools. The 5th was that Morong that I was telling you about, the private school. And just let's see if there's a good. These are renderings that were done. Actually, they did them in China, which I thought was pretty interesting. But again, they wanted this shop space, but they really valued the indoor outdoor space. And so we have all of this outdoor space, lots of light you can see in here. And again, these are renderings. This project is done. I mean, if you wanted to visit it, we could visit it, but it's kind of a quick showing of a few of our projects.
Yeah, I think that was great. Some great photos to give us some ideas. Does anybody have any questions for Mike?
Yes, I have a ton of questions for Mike, but how much time do we have?
About 3 minutes.
Okay. I was just
So we
curious.
can have Mike back, I think.
Yeah, I think we should.
Yeah, so we
schedule a
could
second
speak
round.
up, if you have anything you wanna ask him now.
At some point, you know, if we speak again, I think I'd like to see, I really like all your designs conceptually, how you bring in light and like look at the surroundings and all that. But I noticed that almost everything we saw was completely right angles structurally, and you know, the Waldorf style tends to lean more towards whimsical and nature-based, and some curves and arches. And I don't know if maybe that's just an element of cost control. we can't afford to do that, or who knows, but like, I'm curious, I just at some point love to see if you've done anything that's a little less right angles on the outside. The
Yeah.
interior is amazing.
Yeah, no, and that's, we do have some, I mean, I think you're right, a lot of times that it can be a little cost a little bit more. Lincoln, I had mentioned 12 Bridges High School, the Lincoln High School that we did. And it was actually an existing site that had already, it was like 15 feet of grade elevation. And again, to save cost, we took that site, and that's one that I should send to you so you can just see. But yeah, we kind of curved the building to match the topography, and that one actually doing the curve was a benefit cost wise.
Cool, excellent. Thank you so much. I loved all that.
Hey, Mike, you mentioned earlier about incorporating some buildings together and saving money on the fire risers. What'd you say about that? Can you refresh my memory?
Yeah, and it really has to do with all of the utilities, but yeah, so if you have multiple buildings, for fire sprinkler, you know, every time you go into a building or you go from the ground into the building, you need a fire sprinkler or riser room. But we were able to, on that building, we grouped the 3 buildings together, and we took the fire sprinkler and just ran it along on those the covered walks, and it's concealed so you can't see it, but that saves money. That 12 Bridges High School, and I'll send you some information on that, but that was one of our cost savings measures on that one too, because they had a really tight budget. You know, part of it was the classroom building. They built off site and then brought the panels there and put it in place. But we created this one really big building that had the cafeteria, the kitchen, the theater, the gymnasium, and the band rooms. And we brought them all together so the utilities aren't going, you know, especially the electrical and water and sewer aren't going all over on the campus, but they're coming to one point. Again, it's a way to save some money. You know, I grew up in the Midwest, and all the schools that I went to were, you know, one building, as opposed to California, which, and there's pros and cons to it. You know, we have opportunities to, I mean, I love, you know, between classes, you can go outside as opposed to in the Midwest, but it was like 40 below too, so you didn't want to go outside. But yes, that's the cost savings there.
Perfect, thank you. My one question, and I know that we've probably talked about it, but so we're ideally looking to be in a space June of 2026, which is under 2 years. What do you think? What are your thoughts on that?
So remind me how many square feet, because you wanted to do your classrooms first, right?
Yeah, so we talked about, so 28,000 is what we're thinking, right? These are our guesstimates. And we had said if we did all the classrooms first, admin could be in a portable or something else while we were finishing those buildings, because we need the classrooms ready.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I mean, it depends on kind of the delivery method, but I think working backwards, I would think that construction is going to be about 14 to 18 months.
Okay.
And then, you know, before construction, we have to get the agency approval. And if we go through the state architect project of that size, you're probably looking 3 to 4 months.
And it is a public charter school, so we will almost certainly have to do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And going through DSA in Sacramento is better than Oakland. So, I mean, that's a benefit. And then, you know, design is probably, I don't know, 8 months to do the design, all the construction drawings.
Okay. Sure. Okay.
2 years is aggressively optimistic.
Okay.
That's all.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. I just wanted you to talk to that. So there weren't, that has been my understanding, but I just wanted you to walk us.
Yeah. And then do you have, I mean, how close do the utilities come to the site?
I think they're stubbed out right there from what I understand.
Pretty much there,
Yeah.
sewers in place. It's
It's
in a new development.
Already.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah, the other option too, and I don't want to push your schedule either, but I've known school districts that have put like portables there for the first, year,
Yeah,
on a part of the site that you're not developing, or maybe the parking lot or something, and while you do the rest of the site.
yeah. Okay. Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. We,
Joe.
nobody else before we go on?
We're good.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks,
Have a
Mike.
good evening, and I'll be in touch, okay?
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right.
Bye, Mike.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay, so I'm gonna let Richard in. He's from 450 Architects. They did the Yuba River. They've also done some stuff with the San Francisco, but I don't know if it was the Boulder. Okay. The Yuba River was module and stick built, so very similar to what we're looking.
And they're from 450.
450 Architects is their name. out of San Francisco. Hi, Richard.
He doesn't have a mic either.
No.
We may, hey, Richard, you may have to leave the meeting and rejoin because it has issues with people coming in from the waiting room.
With the mic.
Yeah, you might have to end and come back in. We've had issues with the microphone not showing up because we can't hear you. Perfect.
Oh,
Okay,
hey, it worked.
good.
Now I can hear you.
Excellent.
I love technology.
I'm Trisha. We've spoken a few times, so thank you
Hi.
for coming tonight. We're running just a few minutes late, but not bad. So,
No, not at all. Interesting.
so this is the facilities committee that we spoke about. So here we have parents, board members, teacher, admin, and staff. So that's who you're gonna, I've told them a little bit about you, just that you did the Yuba River one, kind of what you shared with me. You're out of San Francisco, and that's about all I've really shared, other than the other just, questions we went over about a month ago. So we will, and then if you wanna present anything, I don't know if you have anything you should be able to share. But just let me know, but the floor is yours.
Okay, I do have something to share, so let me make sure I can go there. I'll share this screen. And
We can see that.
Can you see this? Are we full size here?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, I kind of need to move us out of the way. Over to here for now, if that's okay. Up,
Yeah.
up there. Okay. So let me just go back to the beginning slide, excuse me. So it really is a pleasure to be here this evening. I can't thank you enough for the time that you are putting forward at this point to realize your own new school campus. I mean, what a wonderful place to be, is influencing your children's lives and the children of many children's lives to come with the decisions that are before you. This is a once in a lifetime experience for all of us. And I think that's what's really exciting. And it's the challenge that we have before us, is to really rise to this occasion. What is going to be our legacy? And here we are, just going to start with this crappy little technology getting in the way between us. And I apologize. I was born before computers, and I went to school and I drew by hand. And
We can appreciate that.
but I did not want to drive so many hours for 10 minutes today.
Yeah.
So
Right.
please forgive me for not wanting to burn the carbon footprint today. As much as I would love to be with you in the same room and just engage in a very meaningful, heartfelt conversation, that's what I would love to do more than anything right now. But I will try to go through these slides as quickly as I can. I want to get into a conversation and a discussion about your goals and your future, and listen to your questions and answer as best I can. So the image that you see before you is the Yuba River Charter School. The school has almost an identical kind of wish list that you have at this time. They have admin, libraries, special needs, multi-purpose room, 3 kindergartens, K-8, a couple art classrooms, director's office, principal's office. This one just happens to have 10.5 acres and rests on a beautiful, beautiful site. And so it's a very different building than what yours would be. But I think what I wanted you to take from this slide is it's about the kids. This site and this building are intertwined. This was only built for them. Your building isn't going to be in my slideshow. It's not built yet. The building on the right here, there are 3 kindergarten classrooms. Yuba River, the same as you, had a very limited budget and wonderful aspirations, and how could they deliver it? And so there's a mixture of portables here for the classrooms, the more cellular spaces, and then what we call stick-built for the administration, libraries, special needs classrooms, admin, and then you have a series of 3 classrooms and restrooms and or enrichment curriculum, portable groups stepping down the hillside designed for solar access and light modulation. So we are well qualified to build or help you realize your dream in your building. We've done over 250 DSA school projects, all for DSA jurisdictions. I've been in business for 31 years, started in 1 bedroom of the house, and then 2, and then 3, and then kicked ourselves out. My best friend from college is my business partner. We've known each other since the 70s. And it's like life is about community, and it's about the relationships that we build. And this is what 450 Architects, that's our ethos. I now, late in life, have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old as my children. And they started at the San Francisco Waldorf School. And I could no longer afford rent in the city, plus 2 children in Waldorf. And I had to make a personal choice to move my family to Marin County to afford a public school and leave a mortgage for my family. And I have the pain of watching my children go from a Waldorf inspired forced school to public education and understand what my children are now missing. And I have that from my heart, what is really at the core of the Waldorf education. We have done projects in Chico, and the core of our practice is sustainability. If you take a look at our website, it's clear. So the San Francisco Waldorf School, we've worked on their preschool right here in the center. I love the Waldorf classroom, the pink leisure walls, the little baskets with the handmade names, they're lovingly made by their teachers, the children's places. Where do I clean? Where do I do my bowls? Where do I sit? Behind us are their little tents and little make-believe lands that they put away. There's also the space for the adults, and the adults get to observe the world outside, but we bring in this light from these surprising little corners. This used to just be a corner retail supermarket or wine store, but it's now a beautiful Waldorf preschool. On the left is an image of the handwork room at the San Francisco Waldorf School. That's a concrete block building built in the 1970s for Pac Bell. This room used to house thousands of tons of electrical gear, but you could never tell now. It's a handwork room with custom beautiful wood windows to let in natural light and ventilation and provide views out to nature while the children are creating. And you have the looms, as well as these handwork tables back here. And our most recent project for the Waldorf School was the Bushnell Center for athletics and community. And this is the facility that San Francisco Waldorf School always wanted, was a room to get the entire school community together. They finally have it. And it's multi-purpose. It has a beautiful sound system in it now. First year after having their own facility, they won the high school championships in basketball. And so it's given them really a sense of pride and joy to be there. And then off on this side here is a classroom that doubles as a kitchen for events within the gymnasium, which is something that Jennifer, I think you mentioned in your beautiful presentation that you gave. The front of this building facing the street has a 25-foot tall, 100-foot long growing wall. We originally designed that building. It was $4 million over budget on a $9 million budget. And in the end, like, we just looked at each and every system and figured out how could we make that building more affordable. And the living wall that was originally proposed used 160,000 gallons of water. And in the end, we determined that was not sustainable. We took tons and tons of steel out of the building to make it more affordable and less weight, and therefore less foundation costs. And these are the kind of ways that we can help make buildings less expensive without losing square footage. And of course, the Yuba River Charter School, right there in Grass Valley in the Sierra Foothills, similar location and some site amenities that are similar to yours. This is the administration building right in front of us here. So this would be the entry, and this is the receptionists. Get to see anyone, any of the children coming in. So it's all really set up about site safety. And the idea that out there is the public come through here, through this little portal, and you're in our safe place for learning. It's the heart of the campus is what this project was very much about. When we sat and meditated on the site, it became quite clear. Here's this beautiful cedar tree, kind of like a maypole. We're going to build a school that celebrates this land and this site so that when the morning light is coming in, we can modulate and control that and work with it to create beautiful and inspired learning environments inside. But we're going to be proud and we're going to own it. We're going to hold this site as our site, which is what you have in front of you. Everyone gets to take part and enjoy that site that is theirs. Influences on the schedule, a lot of the nuts and bolts. We have millions of decisions to make ahead of us. Some of them are going to be really fun. What color do I want to paint this? What wood do I want this to be? But we have a whole series of really dry kind of things we need to work our way through. State allocation board. Are they going to be funding portions of your facility? What is their schedule? How do we get onto their schedule so that if they are funding portions of your project, that money arrives at the proper time so that we don't stop our construction? What are the funding mechanisms for this project? Bond, matching grants, in-kind services. Are there donations or gifts of land or other amenities? What labor can we do? What can be built off-site to avoid some of the prevailing wage issues that we're seeing in the state right now? And then project delivery method also has a huge impact on cost and schedule. And so these front-end things, which we call pre-design, really are what set up the rest of the project for success. Right? We call them pre-design, and that really then allows the design phases and then ultimately the construction phases to be, in our opinion, much smoother. Setting a solid foundation over here, understanding your program, potentially what could be phased, how might that look? What really are the sun angles for your site and what makes it different than another site? So that your architecture, your building responds to that. Budget is really critical here, all right? No one has an unlimited budget. I've never had a client who had an unlimited budget and said, spend whatever you want, Richard. I'd love for you to do that. This is the reality. Everything is way too expensive and no one has enough money. So this is where we have to be creative and understand that funds are not unlimited and that we have to make those hard decisions. And that's what we are there to do, is to help you make these decisions. We're your advocates. We're the ones that will prepare additional materials to help you do that. We've been talking to modular manufacturers, of course, recently, trying to understand what are their current costs, what are their design review times. No reason why this Waldorf classroom here can't be beautiful, even if it's this part here, the care and the intention and the love that is embodied in every one of these letters. And this quality of this light that's coming in over the students' shoulders, so that it's flooded with light, but appropriate light. You can see here just the different gifted chairs and things to the school community. It's like, let's celebrate these things. These are the qualities that make this school just so wonderful. And then your site. Obviously, it all comes down to this. What is the infrastructure? Where does it exist? Where do we need to tie in? Where is that money coming from? How can we help you understand this? So I was on a phone call earlier today with the gentleman, Wayne Sojland, and his group is Premier Management Group, PMG. And they were retained by the Yuba River Charter School early on in the project. It was one of the best things that they did. They got a project manager to help them. Basically, Wayne said, what's your program? What's your budget? When do you want to open? And he really helped them with getting everything in on time to the state, to the local agencies for review. And then that allowed us to focus on what we do best, which is really the architecture, the design, coordinating all of the consultants, working with and being members of the community. And meeting those design things. Where is the appropriate place to enter this site? Where do we want to have classrooms? Where might a gymnasium go? What is our relationship here to Little Chico Creek? You have the perfect opportunity for a forest school right in front of you. I love it. It's just amazing. It's like right there in your front yard. And I love Chico. We have good friends that have Tesla Neon up there, and I remember driving through there many times. We worked on a number of solar school projects there and in Paradise. Unfortunately, most of those burned down, but we love Chico. The thing that I want to turn into a strength is the fact that we don't live next door or here in the San Francisco Bay Area. I think I saw another firm was as well. It'll make our design process very, very direct and agended. I love the idea of coming to Chico, being with you in your community and immersing ourselves for a few days in a design process, or charrettes, working with the students and with staff and with parents and with the board, and taking knowledge back and coming back and engaging again in a very intentional design process. So I've talked for way too long, and I apologize. I'm really here to listen. I'm sorry. I'm not very good at presenting slides. In fact, I'm horrible at it, and I apologize.
You're
if
doing
you had
great.
to, I'm sorry you had to listen to me through that.
No, you're doing great. Does anybody have questions for Richard? Top of there. I've talked to him a couple of times, so
That's all really great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Sounds good.
yeah, I love your experience with Waller that you already have and, recently done it with something similar to what we're trying to do, so.
I'm familiar with Chico and the Office of the State Architect and all of that stuff.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, well, I feel like I came across terribly dry. I don't feel at all like my personality came through. I wanted to say how
I know.
wonderful your presentation was, on what you want to do there. I think it's really, really wonderful what you've done there. I did not see eurythmy room in your program, and I'm curious
What
why.
room?
that would be a Jennifer question.
We have not had eurythmies since before the campfire and COVID. So that would have been 2018, I think, was the
Right.
last time we had a eurythmist teacher. We don't have wood shop anymore, we don't have tech anymore, we don't have foreign language anymore. And we don't have eurythmy anymore. That's not to say in the future we couldn't build it, but right now, that teacher doesn't exist in the classroom.
Uh-huh. So in the San Francisco Waldorf School, they've been able to take things just as simple as a residential garage that was underneath. I don't know if you've been there, but like 3 or 4 lots together right there in Pacific Heights, and they have one structure that was built directly for them, but then the others are a series of renovations of previous houses and things like that, and hence you have these garage bays underneath, and they would just open up a garage door and that became the wood shop. And so they could be some fairly simple things like that. Another question I had is 240 students, I think you mentioned. From understanding your program correctly. How many per classroom then is that? Trying to get an understanding of how you arrive at the 54,000 square feet that you currently have.
Oh, well, we have way too much, we don't need that much, this is where we had more students.
We're a single track school that then tried to expand to a double track school. And for the last 8 years, we've been growing back down to a single track school. And having a more sustainable model. We never reached double track. At our peak, we had 6 out of the 8 grades be double tracked. We just had a lot of other charter schools open in our area, and so that demand is not the same as it was before.
What do you think would be your sweet spot then for an enrollment?
I think our sweet spot is right under, where did we say? 250, yeah. So, and I think we're currently hovering just over 200. So,
Yeah, 220.
So that's about 20-25 kids per classroom. The average is about 30.
that for kindergarten.
Yeah, those are large classrooms then.
Yeah.
The square footages are going to definitely be requiring multiple exits, et cetera.
Yeah, Buck's saying 900 square feet for the classroom.
Okay, are there any questions that others have presented today, or have I contradicted anyone else's answers today?
No, not at all. The only thing that you on one of your slides, it had single story for the approval. Single story was 0 months and 18 months for 2-story. That's
Yes.
accurate. Like, so single story just,
For modular.
yeah.
Yes, we have spoke with American Modular. They came up with the Gen 7, some really nice, they were the ones that took the sort of California modular classroom model and were one of the first ones to make it sustainable. They realized there was a market there that no one was tapping. an American module, or they used to be known as the worst modules possible. I would put that to other people now, but Enviroplex, American module, they tend to be slightly more expensive, but I think this is the learning environment. It is the place where I might buy a better portable.
Okay.
And they're saying their 2 months lead time for DSA approval is 18 months. And so because your PC, your pre-approved documents at DSA become much more custom at the 2-story. And speaking with Wayne today, he's still seeing 1,100 a square foot, even for modular. Talking with American Modular, there's 650 plus or minus for a square foot, but that excludes the utilities and the foundations, elevators, balconies and things like that on the outside. So we should still realistically be budgeting 1,100 a square foot at this time. For the
And so
project.
that doesn't
Yeah.
have anything to do with stick builds though, right? Like we're just talking about if we did modular stuff. There's just timelines and all that.
Well, no, I think, try to get this off my glasses. You might be 1,200 potentially then for the stick builds, in our opinion, I can't fathom these costs, honestly, but it's what we're seeing. And I've asked several folks, most recently up there, what are you getting in the foothills? And I have a local architect that filled in for us on some of the meetings for Yuba River, Wallace Design. I thought they were great. He was a member of the board of directors for Yuba River Charter School and was a perfect local liaison. And so I think that's something that we might take advantage of again in this instance. And PMG, Premier Management Group, they're out of Roseville. And they typically charge somewhere in the 2.5% to 3% construction cost. But they're really, there's something between your teachers and educators and administrators. This is what you do best. I'm an architect. This is what I do best, is deliver buildings. But there's also someone who's the perfect person for managing a project so that you get things done timely. I get things done timely. We all focus on what we do best and they get the project delivered. There's something about really building this core nexus that is critical, I think, to a project of this nature. And then once this nexus has the project entitled, has the permits in hand, then we're bringing in contractor, the subcontractors, but we have this really strong part to build the project from. There's something I just wanted to put forth as a worth considering.
Thank you.
In your position is just, not that we can't do it, but I think it allows all of us to do what we do best, is to have someone in that role, not a construction manager, but really a project manager. And
Yeah,
Wayne
no, and I
is
think-
really wonderful.
Yeah,
in that regard.
we're in agreement with that too. We need somebody to really lead us. Jennifer has a question for you.
Hi, Richard. I was just thinking back in my memories of, I specifically remember standing in Stegman Hall at Snyder College, talking to Yuba River teachers, hearing about their new campus and this whole process. And my memory is hazy, but I'm remembering there was an unexpected delay, perhaps, or that the process was going longer. Or maybe they learned something that they didn't know going into it. And I'm not sure if that was just a funding or a project element, but how long did Yuba River think it was going to take from start to finish, from this first conversation to opening the school day? to how that actually unfolded? And was there anything that, they would have done differently, in retrospect?
Okay. That's awesome. So we started with Yuba River Charter School, 2011, 2012. Very similar process to where you are right now, literally driving up there and interviewing for a project, being invited back, making that short list. They didn't have a site. So they were even further behind. We ended up looking at nearly a dozen different sites over the next 4 or 5 months, working with realtors that they knew in the community, and we would go up there and we would take a look and look at their existing campus, which they had been renting for like 17 or 18 years, and trying to fit that program onto these different sites. What would the school look like? How does it fit? And so that added this whole pre-design sort of separate phase, essentially ahead of time, that ultimately it got them the right site, but we had to test fit a whole series of sites to get to the right site. And then there became an issue of it was adjacent to a toxic burn dump. Well, let's get rid of that burn dump. We need to pay $1 million to abate that. But what it did was it got the entrance to the school not on rough and ready highway at 45 miles an hour, but off of a nice 25-mile-an-hour side street where you could have cars. And he actually gave us a drive through a meadow, wildflower meadow, to get to the parking, to get to the drop off, and then come back out to then prepare for traffic. And we had to find we were limited kind of to an area within a few miles because we had parents coming from such broad and diverse areas around it. I think lessons learned is what we discussed right down here, state allocation board. There was a period right there where they were not releasing funds, and we got sort of stuck behind a couple of those. We had no problems through DSA or OPSC. It was Nevada County. There was a little bit of time there. We did manage to get significant grant, I think 600 and something thousand from the feds to abate the burn dump, and another 347 million, I think, for stormwater mitigation because of where they were located. And so I think this is, how do we work a budget and a site and a program? There's lots of different ways to think about it. And that's really where I think we helped them come along. The biggest problem we had with Yuba River, to answer your question directly, was Silver Creek portables were way behind schedule. And when they arrived, it was like, wow, this doesn't match the shop drawings. And you just have to solve that problem. It's like, okay, this trailer is here and this thing is going to get craned here and I got to get it to work. And you had to have a DSA inspector there and it had to fit. And I would never use Silver Creek modular again. I would use EnviroPlex or American Modular. And but that's lessons learned. I've been in practice for 32 years. These are the lessons that we've learned, and this is what we know to double check and triple check again and again and again.
Richard, what was the time frame? So the time they bought the land they owned the land till the school opening, how long was that?
I showed 2018 on our records as opening, so a total of 6 years.
From when they purchased, okay.
Yeah, 2012 to 2018. Construction was just over 18 months, I think, through winters.
Okay.
And but that had 0 site utilities again, so similar to yours. It's like, what's it going to take to get the city or county to restripe a route through town, a major road? And so this is part of what we do. It's just assist in making that happen. And then there was, again, all new utilities from across the street, a couple acres away, or
Yeah.
power from PG&E. So again, this
Yeah.
is what we do. And that's part of what we would do during this, what we're talking here, this pre-design. I know it's not a pretty picture, and I apologize, but
okay.
this
It's
is the nuts and
necessary.
bolts that set you up. Like, this
Yeah.
is a 6-month phase, I think, right here. And just really understand what that is. And, I think we need to speak to everything if there is a significant discussion about money, we have to have that conversation. It's not the most fun, but if we are on the same page with that, it'll relieve a lot of pressure down the road.
On that subject, did I hear you correctly earlier that you said you were seeing $1,000 to $1,200 a square foot construction cost?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's very different than the number I've heard from your first emails to us of 8 to 12 million at this kind of square footage.
33 million.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, how we close that gap and what that might look like and how might it get phased? How do we handle the enrichment classrooms? I think this is going to be the challenge. This is like, how do we deliver this school for this community and for our children?
Okay.
And
Well,
that's what we do. That's what we do. And like I was saying earlier, I'm not going to take another school project on. This will be the one we focus on. And I want to be able to immerse myself in your community, come up there with my family, spend a weekend there, just really get to know and work with your community. I would love to get up there and build, right? I'd love to do something in my wood shop for your school and gift it. So I was blessed. I got to build the first 3 projects under my own architecture license. And then I decided I wanted to be an architect, not a contractor. We are blessed with the creative side of it. And I will not say that contracting is not creative. I mean, it's extremely creative. But boy, is it muddy some days to get out of the ground. And I have tremendous respect for contractors. They're the ones who have to deliver on a set amount, a very specific project that meets all of our expectations and holds all of our hearts and our aspirations in it. And so because of that, for me, that relationship with that contractor is something I value highly, as the same with every client I've ever had and every community and every consultant that we work with. We are friends. We will laugh, we will have fun, and we will go, well, I'm not quite sure how to solve that one just yet. Let me think about it a little bit and we'll get there. So I'm a very kind of just and bolts, great designer, came from Cornell, top 10 in our class and the top school in the country. And that was the early 80s. And everyone from our class is now principals in their own architecture firms or real estate companies or development companies. And we're all very tight. And I have a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, and it's like, wow, everyone else I know has their 39-year-olds and they're all graduated. But I'm like living the dream. I want to do schools, and I want to do forest schools and the Waldorf schools of the pedagogy that we believe in our heart and soul. And would love to meet with you in person and continue the discussion. So thank you very much for your time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Your passion comes through on Zoom too. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank
you, Richard. It does.
So we appreciate your time and thank you very much. And then I'll reach back out after we have a chance to meet.
Okay.
Can you send that quick presentation you put together? Just so we
Yes,
can
I
talk.
certainly can. I can
Awesome.
send that right now if you'd like.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be great. If you can email it to me.
Okay, let me do that right now. It's been a fun time and thank you very much. I'm sorry to ramble so much. Please have a good
No,
night.
it's perfect. Thank you.
Thanks.
All the
Richard.
best. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Last release.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you ordered
He
those
has 2
correct.
stars by his name.
He,
Yeah,
I'm talking to him, I know.
Yes, he's got 2 stars.
Oh,
Yeah, he's like the perfect combination of the first two
Mike's got
people.
1 star, Richard's got 2 stars.
I like that Mike has, okay, their experience seems to be equal and their passion for schools is,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
comparable.
Yes.
But I like that Mike, the HMC has all those backup people that we need. That has the
The
funding
other
and
bigger-
The
organization,
interior designers
the
and the funding
designers, and the funding
consultants.
keeps all that.
That is kind of
That's
cool.
very attractive, and I like Mike, I like Richard too, but. And I'm not an idiot, so I'm just gonna go home now.
Okay.
No.
We're gonna talk about it tomorrow again.
But
Okay,
I got to see this
Yeah.
before your big meeting.
Yeah,
with
me
you.
too.
Yeah,
They'll go present something huge for you at the board,
Yeah.
but you kind of get the first look,
yeah,
and that's really important.
So just like to speak to that, you're right, like it seems like Mike's firm, HMC is more integrated and has all those people sort of in-house.
Yeah.
But I liked that the second guy with 450, you know, he clearly wasn't just gonna do that stuff. Like he talked about, these are the other professionals you need, like they don't necessarily have those in-house, but he was very focused on, you need a project manager, you need like a financial consultant. And we can help connect you to those people, they just don't have it in-house, and like, you're gonna pay for it one way or the other, you know,
Yeah.
probably more expensive design services at one, but hiring more people.
but the
Less
less
than that.
frustration.
Yeah,
for everyone.
that's why the project manager, I
Yeah,
really
it's
think is a
kinda-
key hire, because they're gonna be the one who handles all that frustration.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do agree with your point that like, it'd be nice to just have a one-stop shop, but either way, like whichever one we go through, the school will probably want a project manager in some capacity. So if you're already gonna pay somebody to deal with all of that,
Yeah,
you know, it's their headache.
I think with something we kind of have to, like, we
Yeah.
can't, we
I
can't,
agree.
we cannot be the property.
No.
kept circling back to.
We can't get the 8 of us in a room often enough to build this before the next century.
Yeah.
So this suits you.
What are your thoughts? Okay, so, I'm ready to vote Dustin out and
Okay.
offer Mike and Richard, a big presentation to the board.
Like a
And
bake-off.
I really, think that will be really important to advertise for as much of our community to attend.
Yeah,
I mean, it's difficult with Mike coming after Dustin, it was like peppermint gum, you know, what is really attractive to me about Mike. And I know I'm in a different stage of my life now and I have my own bias. So I'm much more matter of fact and jaded and just need to like be able to count on people and have things done right the first time and to move forward. And those are kind of just my life values right now. So I want to front that as those are my biases.
Yeah.
I feel like I mean, Richard is 100% a Waldorf guy, like the way he talks, the way he dresses, he had a park background.
Yeah.
I mean, everything was dreamy, I'm gonna spiral my conversation in and then spiral my conversation out. I can see him working with Karen and having this incredible community input and creating just this, I feel like the process would be really, much more intricate and wider. But to be realistic, drawn out, is exactly what I was thinking, is, how, I don't know, I just feel like, do we know what we want?
Yeah.
And then we can communicate that to someone who has a lot of experience to get things done and get it done quickly, save a lot of money. I love not having to explain things to Richard, I love that. Mike was the only one that didn't reference the presentation at all. And not in a way that I was looking for compliments, but like,
Yeah.
was there anything that connected with you about who we are? So it's like, it was
Right.
more or less, that was just one thing I picked up on, like I was
Right.
drawn in by his professionalism,
Mhm.
and business-like acumen and precision and all of that, but then was he drawn in by us in any kind of way? That's probably my biggest reservation. I think both are fabulous and really interesting on what, they could actually present on what they would do with our land.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And, because I'm not interested in 6 months of Post-its with students and community members giving their feedback,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah,
we've had.
we
times
did
where I've done
that. We've done that.
Like, we're moving
Yeah.
forward, and that's
Moving
like old school Waldorf, like, let's just meet and kumbaya and talk for
Yeah.
hours and hours and hours and hours.
Yeah.
And,
Journey.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
ready to move forward in the
Make
real
action
world.
time. But what?
Yeah, I think the key there is professional.
Yeah. What are your thoughts?
That's what you expect.
Similar, gents, we've been down this road many times, and so. I just want to get done, I know there's a lot of stuff that we all want, we may get some, we may not get any of what we want, individually, so we have to be,
Yeah.
flexible on that. And keep in mind that there's a greater picture, there's a bigger picture. We're going to get the school built. Mike, talked about combining different aspects of the project to save money, talked a lot about saving money.
Mhm.
This throughout his presentation. Richard is, great guy. If we were 15 years ago going into this, Richard would be our guy. I think he'd be our guy. So he's a little drawn out. He'd be very vested in the project. We do designers and architects that are very vested in the project that can pose problems. With builders, people that are paying for it, and then designers, there could be some, I'm not saying it will be, but that just could pose a problem down the road.
Good point.
With personalities and their investment in the project, the way they may not be, the way the project may be going, may not be what they envisioned, and might be a problem, so.
Mm.
And they're super invested like that, personally. So the numbers that Richard was throwing out were astronomically large, so
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys did the math real quick, but it was, over 30 million. So
Not the money we have.
yeah, so I mean,
Sure.
Mike didn't throw any numbers at us, but he did talk about saving money. Mike's more of a get it done, that kind of guy. I can see Richard, I mean, just to say goodbye, it was a long time.
Yeah.
And, great guy, all three of them are great guys, so I mean.
Yeah.
HMC is would be my recommendation.
I don't have really anything to add that hasn't already been well covered. And so, the only thing that I have to say is that I fear that Mike is very cold, like you said, right angles, the design that he chose after you gave him.
And he did
the
watch it. He
opportunity.
did.
So that was
mean-
I was kind of shocked at that. It was kind of like, wow, okay, this is very commercial feeling.
Yeah.
And then for Richard, the only thing that I really, really liked about it was that he did have the previous experience at the Waldorf. He knows the people that he said, lesson learned, I would never use this modular again. So he has that wealth of knowledge that, would be valuable, but yeah, you'd have to take the bat on that one.
So, can you talk?
I mean, I agree with both. I mean, I understand Mike, HMC, they're a huge corporation and yeah, they have all these things built in, which is really nice. And it does seem like a one-stop shop kind of thing with having all the project manager and all that stuff built in. But yeah, Richard, I mean, he obviously has lots of hundreds of projects that he's done with the DSA, but he's definitely seems well qualified in that aspect, where I feel like there's some things that we wouldn't have to tell him, but I do think that his price is real high and
Yeah, given what they did Yuba River for, and I know that it's been.
yeah, and we're not gonna,
But
I'm not willing to wait 6 years or even 3 years. I think that's.
So, I mean, Yuba River was a terrible situation from a time perspective because every time they look at a new lot, they have to do the design process, to figure out that lot. For us,
that's
like,
a huge headache.
we have a ton of the holdups that Yuba River had not a factor.
Yeah.
Like we have a lot working.
For that big half swamp lot,
Yeah.
that would have been like.
Yeah.
That would have, I feel like that would have
Okay.
been.
But I mean, even that being said, like I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer or whatever, but like 2 years is extremely optimistically aggressive for anything in California. I think 3 years is probably doable. Like, we've got a lot of things knocked out, there's utilities there, all that kind of stuff, like. Everything that could be going for us is, but it's still California. Like one environmental person or angry neighbor across the street that doesn't want it to, have people picking up kids across the street from them or whatever can make a nightmare. So it's just expectation management. I would hate to see us like without a building to be in 2 years from now, because we just believed somebody who told us they could around that. I think the best thing to do, like you suggested, I think it was, we should have a bake-off, invite them both back for a significant block of time.
Yeah.
Give them a rubric like, this is our site, these are the things about our site, like utilities are here, sewers there, blah, blah, blah. You have to have a slide on her lot specifically. You have to talk to cost. What do you think that the like realistic per square foot building cost is for this project based on what you know? What do you think the total cost will be to build, 28,000 square feet? Obviously, you can't guarantee anything, but like, give us a realistic estimate of what you think this can be done for. And you have to talk timelines based on what you know about our lot. What you know about, the regulatory hurdles that are already cleared, the ones that haven't been. What's your estimate? If we sign paperwork tomorrow, how many years will it take for us to be putting children's butts in seats on this ground?
Yeah.
We have to be very clear so that, they have something fair to work from, they're gonna speak to the same things, and we're gonna get a better estimate, that's more than just a 10-minute ramble, I think.
And we can tell them, like, you are one of our top 2
Yeah.
candidates.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So that bake-off is really taken seriously by them.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, this
You know,
is
'cause if
big.
they're like, well, I'm 1 of 7 or not
No.
a candidate.
Oh, yeah.
And
I
they
might not put a lot
And
in
they
it.
didn't know that it was down to 3.
Okay, but now, so it's like, you're in the top 2.
Yeah, yeah.
You assess, and this is
Yeah.
yours.
This is the real thing, this is the real
And this
presentation
would
we're
be
gonna
like
vote.
our first look at what they would do with our land.
Yeah.
Well, I think they're not gonna do a whole lot of conceptual design until we hire them.
Right, nothing
Yeah.
crazy, but like, just speak to something.
Yeah.
You don't have to do drawings
Yeah,
or
yeah.
documents or whatever,
Like, where would you put the buildings? Like,
Yeah.
step 1, how would you divide up the land?
Yeah.
Would you do 2-story, would you not?
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I had similar thoughts. I like that Richard has a understanding of what we're trying to accomplish. But he's drawn out for me, so whether or not that's how he operates on a work basis, I don't know, right? Like,
Yeah.
my dad is drawn out when he talks, I'm like, okay, let's get to the point, right? But he doesn't work that way, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
Right,
point.
I'm being
Very good
prejudiced on
point.
that.
yeah,
Good point.
so he's very like timeline when he's working, but he,
Yeah.
I'm always like thinking about 5 other things, waiting for the ending, so.
Who's the person that's gonna have to be talking
The
to our
project,
project?
not. Because I don't like you.
Well, that's what I'm wondering, like.
The project manager.
project manager, yes.
Yeah.
Richard could guide us in hiring project managers and other such needed professionals.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my thought was, I'll reach back out to you, but remember, I reached out to them the week before school started, and they were.
Oh, yeah, it was just.
They didn't
crazy.
really wanna be super helpful, but I'll reach back out now and say,
Yeah.
like, did you
Calm
like working
down.
with Richard?
Yeah,
And just ask them,
yeah.
so.
Yeah. But yeah, I do.
resume.
Yeah, did you like working with him? Do you think he caused any delays?
Did you yell?
We should go
Yeah.
tour the school.
Yeah, and I think
And
that,
then humble for info.
yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, so those are kind of, and I liked Mike, but. And I think they'll incorporate whatever design. I think any good architect is going to be able to incorporate whatever one team, but we're also on a budget, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that being said, I would rather somebody give me, if 1,000 to 1,200 is really the honest truth, which I'm absolutely willing to believe. I would rather them tell me that up front than being like, oh yeah, 400, and then once we're pot committed, be like,
Right.
okay, we're gonna have to find another $22 million.
And Mike said, between 26 and 32 months was his estimate. And just a couple things though, like even though he was straight edge, I found it interesting that he has worked with Montessori.
Yeah,
And, his wife is a teacher.
right, and
Like
that's
ours.
interesting too.
Or.
Yeah.
And I think just overall, I know that what he presented isn't necessarily
Right,
what we want it to look like, but I felt like this is an architect. Like,
Yeah.
I felt like I saw a
It's the real
portfolio
deal.
today.
Yeah.
Which I really liked how Richard created a presentation for us, but it really just showcased two schools.
mhm,
Yeah.
And didn't show the breadth of his capacity.
yeah,
And so I understand he had a short amount of time and he was narrowing down, like, here's the closest thing to you. But I did like seeing the grand portfolio,
mhm.
because, I mean, it's impressive. And I don't know, is that all Mike? Or is that Mike's?
Entourage,
That's the
yeah,
whole
yeah,
package.
Yeah,
yeah, I think
It
so.
sounds like
All
he
of
was
those
involved
mini-
with those projects, but,
yeah.
yeah.
Mike has many.
So when we have them come and present, we having them present to the board,
I don't
or
know.
we having them come back here again? and
Who has
go
to
the
vote?
board? The board is gonna be the ultimate vote.
I think we should, I mean, just given how hard it is to organize all of
Maybe
us and then the board, we
combine.
should
That's what
probably.
I feel like.
Yeah.
I
And
feel like we
charter.
should do it combined, so we don't have to
Yeah.
have them do it twice.
Should we
I
do a
agree.
special meeting?
Yeah.
Give them
Yeah.
2 weeks.
I think so, and
Yeah.
tomorrow
Both-
at the
and both
board,
Board and.
it is
Mhm.
on the agenda at the board. For me to
Good.
be able to give the information, so I think then we set a special meeting for the board
Right.
for a couple weeks out, and then we do a combined.
Yeah.
I think that sounds
What is-
like a good
Yeah.
plan to move
And then
forward.
logistically, we vote and then we turn and look at the board members and then you vote, like we vote on our.
I think you give your opinions, you don't
Yeah.
have to vote, and the board will just vote.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Got
think
it.
we gotta streamline,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay.
I was just in the sure process.
Yeah.
You just need, yeah.
They're only giving your recommendation, and you just give your
Got
recommendation
it.
when we're in the meeting.
Yeah,
I think, but I will clarify with Susan.
A lot of this will be uncharted territory too, so, you know, none of us may have experience in one area or another, so
Yeah.
just have to work together to make decisions that
Yeah.
make sense.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so we're gonna look at calendars to see when we're available, so then we can give proposed times to the board tomorrow to do a special meeting.
And then is our board complete right now and able to vote?
Well, yes, we can vote as long as nobody's absent.
Got it.
so
We,
I,
we need a parent and we need their community member.
so I think since the board are the actual voting members and how many of us can be there doesn't actually matter. I mean, it matters, but we should just figure out when all the board members are available.
I will.
Whoever can
tomorrow,
be
but
there.
I would get a couple dates from us, just so I can correlate it.
Yeah,
We will, and if it doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out, but yeah, I agree, I appreciate that.
How about 2 weeks from tonight?
On a Monday.
Monday, 2 weeks from now.
Yeah.
do we think that's enough time for them to really put together the things we're gonna ask for though? Like,
Contact them, say how much time you need. or-
Yeah, I
Right.
can, but
Like 2 weeks
they've
from
had-
Monday, the 30th.
They've had 2 weeks,
okay, so they already had 2 weeks to prepare this meeting.
this,
Okay,
like, so I feel like.
2 weeks is
Okay.
fine.
okay,
Personally,
fine.
Yeah, we don't want them to spend a lot of. their
and
time
I
on
just
it.
wanna make a decision that I just
Yeah,
wanna like.
Get it
Fair enough.
going.
So if we do it on the 30th, then we're not gonna have a meeting on the 2nd.
Probably not, I don't know what we would discuss.
Right.
That's a good
Good,
point.
because I'm out of town.
Yeah, I'm like.
Actually, on the second, I cannot be here because I have a concert.
Right?
And it's-
Oh, I won't be here on the 30th.
Well, you got things right on.
That's okay.
Oh.
Sure,
The
sure.
30th, huh? No, the second you
On the
could.
30th?
Wednesdays are chemo days every. It shouldn't be too bad, but
Well, we'll just,
if that ever changes for me, I mean.
because it's every 3 weeks, it's always gonna rotate.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, well, yeah. We'll figure it out. I think we're just gonna have that every meeting, pick a new.
Pick a new
date.
meeting date.
Yeah, depending on where we're at. Okay, so this Monday, the 30th.
If that works for the board and our presenters. that
Okay, so we
Yeah.
have September 30th as one option. What other days that week? If we're
Parent
trying,
councils on Tuesday.
Yeah.
I can't do Wednesday.
I'm out first, second, and third.
And there's
I'm out
a
Thursday.
facilities meeting scheduled Thursday the 3rd at 6 o'clock. It's on the staffing committee.
What is it?
Oh,
meeting
because-
for us.
Well,
That's
relevant.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, yeah, because our regular was first Thursday.
The third year out,
I'm out first, second and third. I'm in.
oh, the
Plymouth.
first, second, and third.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay, so what about the third for everybody else?
Yeah.
Okay, so October 3rd.
Yeah, I can't make Mondays or Thursdays, but don't plan around me. Again, I won't be voting, so I'll just zoom
Then
in
we're
if I
not
can.
doing October 2nd, that one's gonna be out.
You won't be.
If it's gonna be the board voting and us just providing input,
Oh, I see.
you know what I mean?
Well, your opinion's valued.
Well,
Yeah,
I
it
know,
is.
but my schedule's such a mess right now for evenings and like the whole next month, I have Search and Rescue Academy every Monday and Thursday and there's other stuff for the week, so like, don't plan around me. I will definitely try to be there if I can, but
Okay. We really value your opinion in your cases, so we really would like you.
I
So
would,
even
re-
if you can't vote, then you could zoom in, at least give up your opinion.
I can at least call in and mouth off.
Okay, okay, so we'll propose the 30th or the 3rd.
Yeah,
The 3rd, I might be very.
sounds good.
I'll just wait
We'll
till you guys
try.
figure it out. so
Okay,
I don't make-
okay. Okay, is there anything else on the agenda? I don't
It's
think-
funny that Zoom people are very forgiving. Anybody comes on, they're not working, like it's not working, everybody's so accommodating, like, oh, no, take your time, figure it out.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, geez,
We've
come on.
been there, done that.
We don't
Yeah.
want to have-
It's so amazing.
Yeah,
What on earth is Eurythmus,
okay.
aside from an eighties band?
Hey, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting and then we're gonna do it.
Okay, sorry.
Okay, so we're gonna adjourn the meeting at 8:03. Thank you, everybody, and I'm going to